We have LeetCode problem number 125 called Valid Palindrome. A relatively simple and easy LeetCode problem to solve. And you can even solve it in a very efficient way, just O of n, and it's relatively easy if you know what you're doing. So, what is a palindrome? It's a phrase that after converting all the uppercase letters into lowercase letters and removing all non-alphanumeric characters, it reads the same forward and backwards. Simple enough. As you can see, here's an example: a man, a plan, a canal, Panama. It reads exactly the same backwards. That's an A at the start and A at the end, an M at the second from the start, an M at the second from last, an M at the third from start, an A at the third from last, etc., etc., etc. It's exactly the same after removing all the non-alphanumeric characters, such as the space or the comma. You remove all that stuff, and then you also make any uppercase letters like A becomes lowercase, as you can see, so it's compared with the same types of letters and the same cases. So how would we solve this in Java code in O of n? Well, it's actually quite simple. All you do is you would create a list, an array list, but we'll just call it list here because it's shorter to write. And then basically you look at the string that they gave you, and you would go char by char. So an easy way to do that in Java is just using toCharArray command. So then you have a char with every single, you have a char array with every single char in the given string, right? And then in order to add it to the list, you want to do a couple of checks. First you just want to check, is this character a letter or digit, right? And in order to do that check, all you do is use the built-in Java character command is letter or digit, right? So then as you loop through that char of arrays, you start at the very first char, which would be A here. So as you're looping through, you say A, okay, is A a letter or digit? Yes. And then what you want to do is, in that case, that's true. We want to make A lowercase using the character .to lowercase, which is another built-in command in Java, and then we want to add it to the list, so it'll look like this. Then we would move on. We would iterate the loop. We would check, okay, space is not a letter or digit, just continue the loop. M, yes it is, and it's already lowercase. A, yes it is, it's already lowercase. N, yes it is, it's already lowercase. The loop iterates, it sees a comma, no, it's not a letter or digit. It continues. Space, no, it's not a letter or digit. It continues. A, yes it is. Space here, no. P, yes. L, A. So it just basically loops through every single character in the string. Since obviously, since we converted the string to a char array, it'll just loop for that char array's length, right? From 0 to less than char array's length. Alright, so now we have a man, a plan, and then we can just finish off what the loop would have done. And then obviously it skips a it skips a colon, it skips a space. Then you have just P A N A M A, right? So now we have this in a list, right? We have every single character in the correct format, right? What do we do here? We do one more loop, right? And then at the loop we have two pointers. We have one pointer that checks the very first element in the list, and we have one pointer that checks the last element in the list, right? And that's the first iteration of the loop. If this character is the same as this character, nothing happens, right? But we want to check, is this character here not the same as the last character? If it's not the same, we return false, right? But in this case it is the same, so we don't do anything, we just continue the loop. So the loop would iterate. The first pointer would move up 1, second pointer would move down 1 to the M here. Oops, yep, to the M here. And then we'll check, is this character not the same as this character? Obviously these two are the same, so nothing would happen. If there was a case where they were not the same, it would return false. And remember, this is looking for a boolean, true or false, as you can see here. So it would return false if there's any case where it's not the same. And then the loop would just continue, check, 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 check. Eventually it would reach the middle where everything is checked, right? And in this case, everything's the same, so that loop would stop, and then at the end we would just return true, right? Simple enough, very, very nice and simple little solution. So now I'll just show you exactly how to code it in Java using, showing you the 2 loops that I mentioned in this explanation. Okay, so here we are in the Java code on LeetCode, and remember, as I said, the first thing we want to do is we want to make a list, right? And at the very start, it's going to be an empty list, but it's going to be array list of characters, and then we can call it anything. We can just call it list equals new array list. Boom, boom. So now we have an empty list, right? And then we want to work with all the characters in the string s. So all we do is we just do we create a char array. We can call it chars. It doesn't really matter. And then that will equal s.to char array. Boom. As simple as that. Oh, forgot the little parentheses there. Right. So now in the first loop, remember what we want to do. We want to add all the characters from s into the list if and only if the letter is a letter or digit, and then we just want to make sure that letter or digit is lowercase if that case is true. So we loop through. We did it for each loop. For char current char in chars. So each current char will be from the char array chars, which is literally just the string broken down into chars. So we loop through each char in the char array, and then we would say if character dot is letter or digit, is letter or digit char current char. So if that is true, we know we want to add it to the list. And then one more thing before to add it to the list, we can simply do current char equal character dot to lowercase current char. So all we're doing is we're making sure this is lowercase no matter what by calling the to lowercase command, right? And then just add it to the list. So list dot add current char. Boom. Okay, now we have a list that looks like, for this test case here on the left, it would look exactly like this. This is what our list would look like. And remember, now we need a loop. We need a loop with 2 pointers, one at the start and one at the end, and then compare each one. So for int I equals 0, I is less than. But if we want to loop through the list, we would use list.size, right? List.size. But actually, we want to do list.size divided by 2, because if we have 2 pointers, one at the start, one at the end, eventually they will meet at the middle. So we don't actually have to go through the whole list. So we can do list.size divided by 2. Then we can do I++, right? And now this is a very simple. We just do one if statement. If list.get at I. So if we get the first character from the list and it's not equal to list.get, then we do, in order to get the last character, it would be list.size minus 1, right? That would be the last character. But obviously, how could we decrement it as well? Well, it would be minus I. So the first iteration, I would be 0, so it would just be list.I minus 1, which is the last character. The next iteration, I would be 1, so it would go down 1. So it would go from A to M here, while at the start of the list, it would go from A to M. So it would be comparing M to M, which is correct. The second from the start versus the second last, right? So if at any case they're not equal, we just return false. And then it will just loop through the list until it checks every single character. And then if this never hits false, we just return true. And then boom, this should work. 100% this should work. All right, so it looks good, and we can submit. And yeah, what do you know? You have a 4 millisecond solution. So this is O of n, where n is the amount of characters in this given string s. So thank you for watching. If you want to subscribe for the most, concise and comprehensive computer science content, go ahead and do so.